Podcasts and books are cool, but it's time to make a video game.
You're listening to Make the Game with Matt Hackett.
So let's talk about the game itself, why I picked this particular game, and what itches it scratches of mine, how I'm producing the game, what the finish line looks like, and what's different this time versus other times I've made games. So first off, the game itself. I'm really excited about this. The game is called Witchmore. Here's the elevator pitch. Witchmore lets you decide if you want to be a good witch in the woods harvesting mushrooms or an evil witch invading villages to kidnap children. Pretty cool, right? I like it. I think it's great. I'm excited about this game. So let's talk about the features in Witchmore. Here's just some bullet points to kind of give you a rough feel for the game. So it's real-time 2D overhead gameplay, hand-drawn sprites by me, of course, with very little animation. It involves witchcraft. Think brooms, ghosts, cauldrons, curses, and black magic. All the stuff I really like. It's going to have dark themes like kidnapping, murder, and sacrifice. Very simple inputs. This is really important to me. Move, run, interact, pick up, use, put down. There's not a lot of discrete things you can do in the game, but with those simple inputs, you can make a lot happen. I want the player to be in control at all times, which means no long cutscenes, no long dialogues. There's a crafting system. You can create things like poison apples, shovels, wands, and more, of course. There's a day-night cycle. It gets light during the day, dark at night, and different things happen during those times. And there's a village simulation with houses and doors and villagers who defend their property and produce offspring. So why did I pick this game? I've talked before about how to decide what game to make, but I still struggle with this all the time. Just all the time. My problem is the same as everyone's, I guess, which is that I have too many cool ideas. There are at least 3 game concepts in my workshop that I'm eager to work on, but I gotta focus on just one and ship it. So how did this one rise to the top of the list? For starters, my next game needs to be big enough to satisfy the appetite I've been building up for the last several years. The other games in my workshop are significantly smaller, and while I could ship them faster, they aren't the mountainous regions I crave to climb. Some kind of deep sandbox experience has been calling to me, something you could get lost playing or the hours happily melt away. I've played a lot of Animal Crossing in my life. I've been playing since the original on GameCube, and I've played every major version since. And in each one of them, I kind of wished I was a wizard or just had some magical power. My mind wanders to black magic, like being able to curse villagers or enchant a broom to dust for me, that kind of stuff. I also enjoy conflict and combat and all the juicy, action-based parts of games that don't happen to be in Animal Crossing. It's not bad that they're absent in Animal Crossing, it's not that kind of game. But those are things that I like to see in games that I play. I also think it's so cool when players can play a game how they want. So, maybe in my game, combat is totally optional. These thoughts led me to the concept of Witchmore, a simple witch-in-the-woods sandbox game with a wizard's lizard vibes. Here are some of my particular itches that this game concept scratches quite well. I want to make a dark, gothic fantasy game. It's kind of in my wheelhouse and what makes me happiest. I want a game that feels good with a gamepad. I'm happiest when I've got a gamepad in my hands. I want to be able to have intense magical power. I want to be able to do things that can break the game. It needs to remind me of my favorite games, including The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Shining Force, in the look and feel categories at least. I want to draw all the art and not be hindered by perspective, animation, or high resolution. These things are expensive and not critical to me. I want to be able to write code for behaviors. I'm tired of too much abstraction. I want the kind of evergreen game you could easily play daily for years. Lastly, I want a game perfect for and easily shippable on consoles, especially Nintendo consoles. Shipping a game on consoles is one of my dreams. How I'm producing the game. So, now that I've got my concept, how do I get it done? You may remember Witchy, my little roguelike. Witchmore is built upon that codebase and even uses many of the same sprites. The lessons I learned by shipping Witchy, even though it was a relatively small game, will benefit me while developing Witchmore, a much bigger game. Let's walk through how I'm building the various building blocks, including programming, design, art, sounds, and music. The programming, I'm coding by hand, myself, in Unity using C#. For design, I'm designing it myself, mostly inspired by Animal Crossing and some of my favorites that you'll probably guess later. Art, drawing all the art myself in Clip Studio Paint on my iPad Pro. The sounds are pulled from hundreds of bundles and asset galleries, free sound, open game art, places like that. The music, likewise, is pulled from dozens of different sources, humble bundles, paid assets, and free assets. Since it's just me working on the game, I need to really find ways to limit my scope, even though it is a big game. So here are 4 things I'm doing to help keep things simple. Number 1, I'm keeping my inputs very straightforward and lean. I will not be getting lost in the mechanics weeds. 2, I'm using a breezy, low-friction art style. Very little animation or perspective woes to slow me down, so I can just crank out content. 3, I'm saying a hard no to certain features like complicated dialogue or significant inventory management UI. 4, I'm creating the beginning, middle, and end early on so that I know exactly what I'm building. So those are the parts of the game that I know for sure are going to be in there. What does the finish line look like, though? I'm happy to say the game will be done when it's ready. There's no hard deadline, and I have loads of ideas for expanding what I've already got. But what does the finish line even look like? I'm not entirely sure. I know what one finished version of the game looks like, but I'd love to work on Witchmore for years. It's an inherently hungry design that begs for more, and I'd be happy to grant those wishes, but my ability to continue working on it depends on how the game, and Vladria itself, performs over the next year or so. I have a working, playable, cross-platform game right now that gets across the core concepts. It needs a lot of work, but it already feels witchcrafty and spooky and satisfying to play. Importantly, there's a solid beginning, middle, and end, right now, including the rolling of credits. It's a complete experience that is just hungry for more. Lastly, what's different this time? This isn't my first rodeo. I've made games before with teams and by myself. So here are 4 things that are different for me this time around. For one, I've learned from the past. The success and failures of Lost Decade games have given me insight I didn't previously have. My chances of success are higher than before. 2, I have much more time. When I shipped Indie Game Sim, I had a tight 6 months, and that was tough to accept. This time, my runway is much longer, and I'm able to be more ambitious with this project, which means scope will be really difficult for me. 3, I want to work with a dev fund or publisher. I never have before, but I'm especially interested in funding development and assistance with the promotional strategy I already have. I have my eye on a handful of indie publishers and developer funds, but I know that competition is intense and relationships are tricky to build. So wish me luck, and if you're a dev fund or publisher, contact me. Lastly, I want to launch on as many platforms as possible. I've launched cross-platform games on Steam, Android, and iOS, but Witchmore would be perfect on consoles. This is another area where a publisher or dev fund could help me out. So, my next big game is called Witchmore. I'm very excited about it. I got a lot planned for it. I'm going to start live streaming development of it, and I hope you'll join me and check out the game. When I'm ready for feedback, I'll be distributing builds of the game through my Discord and my newsletter. So sign up for both of those if you're interested at Vladria.com.